Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Tech Talks. This is Aadi. Cyber attacks are a big part of non-warfare war, if I may say that. ये एक बड़ा नया सा टर्म है. विदाउट वॉर की वॉर जो होती है उसका एक बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है साइबर अटैक्स. याद होगा पिछले साल, आई थिंक लास्ट ईयर और द ईयर बिफोर लास्ट, क्लेम वाज दैट द चाइनीज स्विच्ड ऑफ द लाइट्स इन मुंबई. ठीक है. नाउ वॉरफेयर पे एक्चुअल इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट रहेगा और एक बैक एंड ऑफ वॉरफेयर पे क्या इम्पैक्ट रहेगा, दैट्स समथिंग वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड अ लिटिल बिट, because the Chinese do carry a particular capability of these kind of cyber attacks. Okay, and with the Ukraine war, we've also seen the Russians using it to a very devastating effect. Even NATO के systems काफी हद तक झलक से गए हैं. And so we will talk to Air Marshal Bedi about this and try and understand what is this game, what is behind this, how does this whole thing function, and is there something that India is also planning to do to one counter it and to see how we can also use this technology. I'm sure something is being done and those things will be confidential. We will not talk about those, but just let's have an open-ended conversation with the potential of this thing. So sir, good evening and welcome to the show once again. It's always a pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thank you so much, Adi. It's always a pleasure, and I particularly enjoy being with you because I always learn something new through you
Correct.
and your audience, and I am always wiser after your show. Thank you
Thank
very
you, sir.
much for
Thank you so much.
conducting. Now, you see, you rightly said cyber. Cyber is important. We talk about it. हम बात करते रहते हैं. Cyber is like your nerve system. Anything that you talk about today, from satellites to your aircraft to launching an RT shell or network, seeing things on radar, networking, etc. Everything rides on cyber. So it is like in the body, your brain. So I have this body. You give me a lot of weapons. आप मेरे को बंदूक दे दो, तलवार दे दो, सब कुछ दे दो. But if you control my brain, then all those things have no meaning. So you have to guard that brain very very specifically. अगर उसको ध्यान से नहीं रखा और उसको किसी ने कंट्रोल कर लिया, तो whatever power you have, whatever weapons you have, सब like we say धरे के धरे रह जाएंगे, and someone else can control it. From that point of view, cyber has become very important. Now, today we will talk about this capability with the special focus on China, as your tagline says. Now, cyber attacks can take place in many forms, and people derive different benefits out of it. पर हम limited रखेंगे इसको on defense parlance. That how can cyber, or cyber warfare, so to say, that in defense domain, how can it affect us? What happens is the different nations, they diverge और अलग अलग तरह से use करते हैं cyber को. They significantly diverge in the role of cyber, in their institutional setup and modalities, the way they use it. Big powers, US, Russia, China, they all differ in their modus operandi, how they use cyber. Russia traditionally, we'll not talk of Russia-Ukraine war, has had cyber subservient to int gathering, generally, and placed a lot of emphasis on human int. That generally data gathering, etc. Whereas USA has kept it independent of the int department per se and has gone more digital. China, we will talk about it in more detail, has evolved, I wouldn't say recently, but relatively recently, if you talk of USA and Russia, but has caught up well and is galloping ahead. So we will see how it evolved, how is its capability. Russia, except 2016, where it was said that USA के इलेक्शन में, ट्रम्प के इलेक्शन में रशिया का रोल रहा है कुछ साइबर इंटरवेंशन करने में. Other than that, there aren't many things of that kind noticeable, and we will talk a bit about Russia Ukraine when we come to that timeline. Okay, now international laws are there on cyberspace, but nobody knows how to use them. Now, big question is, can a cyber incident trigger war? You had spies earlier. Spies are caught, Spies were caught here and there. People, countries refused; they did not own them up, etc. But it was generally known, where would they have come from. They never triggered war. So, can a cyber incident trigger war? If yes, what kind of incident can trigger war? How quickly can you attribute it to someone to that scale that it can trigger war? It can trigger war, but hasn't yet so far, a particular cyber incident per se. And effort versus payoff is important, that how much effort you have to spend in cyber capability, and how much does it pay off. Now, like they say, holy grail of cyber warfare, in my opinion, if you talk, is that Operation Olympic Games. Operation Olympic Games, or popularly known as Stuxnet attack on Iranian nuclear reactor, combined by USA and Israel, happened in 2009, 2010. Why I'm covering this is because there are certain aspects इसमें जो चीजें निकल के आती हैं, which are important to understand how does cyber operations work, and what all can they achieve. Now, it was so important. It had been going on for some time, I believe from 2006 onwards, because it is said that when George Bush handed over presidency to Obama, I believe he told him two things, that, you can do whatever you want. And this was 2008. That, of course, you will have your two policies, I mean, all your policies, but I would recommend that you continue with the two policies of USA. One is Operation Olympic Games and the drones development. And I think Obama duly obliged to that. What happened in 2009-10, I believe, when Iran was developing nuclear reactor, then Israel was greatly worried about it. And they wanted to do similar thing what they did in Osirak in 1981 over Iraq nuclear reactor, or in Syria in 2007, I guess, which was called Operation Out of the Box or Operation Orchard, where they did some attack over Syria over a supposedly nuclear reactor. But I believe USA did not want that kind of attack over Iran. So they said that, okay, we will do something that Iran does not succeed. So what did they do? They introduced this Stuxnet virus into the centrifuge. Mind you, Iran was aware of that, and it had sufficient air gaps or, firewalls in place. So this virus had to be inserted through pen drive physically by somebody. So the importance of human being present, even when you want to carry out a large scale cyber operation. And what did this do? It took over what they call SCADA, supervisory control and data exchange, data acquisition element of this. So what will it do? It will sometimes rotate the reactor very fast, so that more uranium is pumped in, damaging the reactors, stand down. Then after some time, slow it down so that sufficient enrichment does not take place, etc., etc. So what happened after some time, about 1,000 centrifuges were damaged by the time they realized something was happening. And scientists, Iranian scientists, when they will know, when they will see their computer screens, nothing amiss. कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं दिखती थी, वहां पे भी कुछ हो रहा है. And how subsequently it came out, because ultimately it went out of the system and started affecting elsewhere, because this particular reactor was running on a German supplied Siemens 7 step kind of software. Another thing important to know, and the same software was being used by some other mixing plants, which started getting affected. So what is to be learned is that in 2006, when they started planning this, they started monitoring this German supplied equipment, which was fitted in Iranian reactors. And actually, Iranians had acquired it from Libya. When it gave up its program in 2001, 2003, they acquired these reactors and they brought them there. So through this German supplied equipment, USA was monitoring, it was talking back, that systems were talking back to US as to what's happening there. So the importance of the system that you use. Today only I read that we have putting extra import duties on any computers that you import.
Laptops, yes, sir.
Government has
Laptops
done
and
that,
computers.
laptops, etc. You must have read today only. Probably now you will see it in that light, that every equipment, you pick up any damn telephone, you pick up any computer, it would have some Chinese component. Okay, who knows what kind of component is it, who is it talking to, etc. So it's very important to do what they call managed supply chain, in this, that where, what is your supply chain, where does it come from, it is hardened, it is not hardened. So you can't remain casual about it, because the same thing happened, that very successfully they used this Stuxnet attack. And also, what did it serve? Now, the way, what did it did not stop Iranian reactor program. It delayed it probably by an year. But what Americans, the way they say, what they claim, that okay, it was not, purpose was not to stop Iranian nuclear enrichment completely, but it was to pacify Israel to an extent, so that it does not do something like that, and also probably make Iranians underconfident. When results don't come, okay, some things go wrong, and you don't know what is happening, so you become underconfident. So they probably thought that scientists will give up this program, that we are unable to do so.
Mm,
But
mm,
anyway, things came up, and it carried on. But we are just focusing on this particular two aspects of it. It, like we said, that human intervention was still required, and the components that you use in those machines had to be monitored more carefully. Okay, then Russia Ukraine, closer we see that when the war started, Viasat attack became very prominent, the satellite attack. Now it affected the communications. 1 hour before Russian forces walked into Ukraine, this satellite was attacked, and it affected communication in the front lines, affected their movements, etc. But slowly, obviously, the things became all right. Now when you see the complete war, Russia Ukraine war, there is a lot of literature. As far as cyber thing is concerned, it does not become very prominent. They must be doing cyber fires, so called, which were more prominent in 2014, their Crimea annexation, because there wasn't so much of war, so prolonged war, so cyber became prominent. One
mm,
particular thing, one ek cheese, what is happening in Russia Ukraine war, when the war has prolonged hell of a lot, then what happens is, as much as I read, that every cyber attack and kinetic attack are almost congruent. So if you, let's say, affect a power station by cyber attack, and next moment you bomb it also, command and control center, you affect it with cyber, and the next moment you bomb it. Okay, so you don't really know what affected it. The kinetic attack took it down, or really cyber affected. I mean, you're not really waiting for its effect to be shown in a long term. So in a long term war like that, they tend to fade away. So that is as far as this particular thing is concerned, right? And another thing is that Russian attacks probably have not limited them to Ukraine territory alone. When they carried out this Viasat attack, about 5,800 windmill turbines got affected in Germany also. So they were kind of indifferent that कहाँ पे effect हो रहा है इसका. Is it targeted at a particular system in Ukraine, or is it just in that area? So
mm,
whosoever gets affected is okay. And plus Ukraine has a lot of support, lot of defense of NATO and other countries, so probably decision makers or advisors are not really sitting in Ukraine and using those systems only. They are, that support is coming from all over. So the Russian cyber effect, probably that is why, when you read literature, it tells you that it's not showing much effect, not that it does not have power, or it can be
mm,
totally
mm,
undermined,
mm,
but it
mm,
is just that under the circumstances, it's not showing the effect what people would be expecting, as they see other cyber attacks showing results. I think it is overpowered by other operations. And another aspect is that since Russia generally used cyber attacks or cyber information to get intelligence, its other sources intelligence in war becomes prominent. Like your image intelligence, your signal intelligence, your other stuff. You're seeing pictures. So your focus shifts on that kind of intelligence rather than what you gather through cyber operations. And since its focus was on cyber, to get into that, so that is why it took a bit of backstage. Now, coming to, let's say, China. Now, when I say China evolved, when did it become serious, or when people started monitoring it? 2010 Arab Spring, when came, and when USA started it became free from that terrorism angle to some extent, and started focusing on this side, that how to do things and how to control. That is when they found that this Arab Spring or pro-democracy feeling started affecting China also. When we know of a person called Wai, a little political activist who became very active in China for pro-democracy. Now he was arrested. He was arrested on some economic offences, etc. Not that he's vocal about democracy. And what happened in Western side, the lot of Twitter campaigns started. And those days there used to be a site called Tuition, like
Hmm.
petition. Instead of petition, what you do on Twitter became tuition. From
Vision.
that
Yeah. Hmm.
tweetition, I think. And the people who did that were known as tweeticians. Okay, they did petitions on Twitter. So a whole lot of people started signing that. Okay, and that is what China realized probably, that there's something seriously needs to be done to control this domain. Otherwise, we will not be able to maintain, and this may affect. And the results of Arab Spring were there for people to see. So what happened is it became so aggressive that they now made a CAC, what they call Cyberspace Administration of China. That complete China became under that control, that cyber will be monitored. In 2011, for signaling, if you would remember, and when USA became a little involved, 13 gas pipeline companies were affected on the east coast of
Yeah, one
USA.
shot. Hmm.
One shot, 2011. Okay, just
Hmm.
telling them that, okay, hold on. It was more of a kind of some signaling. Okay, then slowly it came to aggressiveness of China, that in 2015, they created this great firewall. They said no foreign content will pass through to Chinese people without state intervention. So great firewall came up to limit the foreign content, and the counter to that from somebody from Western was what they call great fire. They created a parallel kind of operation which would bypass this system and still supply foreign content to people. Now, China came up with Canon, something called Canon, and what did it do? Very, very aggressive, what we call DDoS or DDoS, distributed denial of service. Where you pump in so much information on somebody's system that it becomes difficult to operate. You know, and it is said that for this site, for this particular website, at times it became, how much it costed them per day, $30,000 per day to host content on this site. That
Wow.
much was the attack on this site. So they finally kind of, laid off. Okay. Now, two interesting incidents, because cyber cannot is not complete unless you tell stories. Okay, and just to show China's prowess, because now we cannot really say how how did it work in war, because yet it hasn't taken place of
Not
that kind of thing.
happening.
So to understand its prowess, you will have to see two instances. I will quote. One is in 2013, Philippines. Now we know nine dash line, right? Everybody, your audience would probably know nine dash line, because that is in South China Sea. There's created dashes saying that these islands are mine, and around that, then economic zone becomes mine. Now Philippines objected to it, and 2013 it went to PCA, what they call Permanent Court of Arbitration, Hague. Okay, and they said, okay, listen, we don't acknowledge this, and this is all nonsense. What is this nine dash line, etc., etc.? Now, China said that, okay, Hague or PCA has no jurisdiction over this, and this is a sovereign kind of stuff. Whereas Philippines, argued that no, this affects the overall international kind of order, and PCA agreed to listen to the matter in 2015, and they came to conclusion that yes, it was wrong indeed, and the judgment said that you can't just pick up that what China called islands, but actually rocks. There are some rocks here and there. You call it an island, and now you say I own this island, and now some zone around it becomes your exclusive economic zone. So this is very funny. They said okay, 2016 they were to announce this judgment, whether it mattered to China or not, but internationally they were going to announce it. And I believe It is recorded that for 5 hours, when they were going to announce judgments, all the websites of PCA went black. They just
Oof.
couldn't communicate. Not only PCA,
Wow.
not only Permanent Court of Arbitration, ICJ, International Court of Justice, also went black. And so much was the effect. Now it is recorded. And even halfway through lecture, I would like to clarify, because we are talking of cyber, that whatever I talk, Adi, I mean, or subsequently, is purely from my research into the open domain. I mean, there is nothing which is not available on Google. There is no information that I will come because of my exclusive access to some documents, etc. Everything is from open source, right? So ICJ had to give a statement both in Chinese and English. They put it up that while we share the space with PCA, we had no role to play in this PCA judgment. So just spare us. I mean, they were worried that we don't know what will happen after that. So that is the kind of effect, it can create.
Oof.
Another incident, in Vietnam, because all these people are affected. Now, Philippines had been objecting, so has been Vietnam. That nine dash lines, some of the lines pass very close to Vietnam, in fact. And you know what China started doing from 2012? They started printing 3 pages of their passport with this nine dash line. So their 3 pages of their passport will have this nine dash line printed. So when anyone wanted to go to Vietnam with that passport, Vietnam will not put a visa on this passport. They put it separately on a slip. They called it landing slip, indicating that we do not recognize this nine dash line of yours on passport, so we will not stamp it on passport. Fair enough. It was carrying on. What happened in 2016? There was probably some eccentric guy on duty. When he saw this, he defaced this 23rd July 16. It happened. He defaced this passport, and not only defaced the passport, he wrote that expletive word, inverted commas, you, okay, on that passport.
Wow.
And he that happened. I mean, the guy traveled, something happened. And 6 days later, 29th July 2016, what happens? All the TV screens of Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi airport had that same message, expletive you, displayed on all the screens. And their PA system were playing Chinese patriotic songs. 100 flights
Wow.
were affected. They had
Fantastic.
to they had to stop operations, do it manually. 100 flights were affected.
I
Okay, now
mean,
these may not be.
I must say this is like, sir, इसके आगे कोई इससे भी बड़ी story है, because this is like the king of the stories.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting, right? So now what happens is, they are not military operations, like I said, but it shows you the prowess of a country,
The
that
power, huh?
what can be done. Cyber में क्या हो सकता है? Okay. And now 2020, of course, Gilwan you covered, in your opening remarks. Post Gilwan it happened. October May. Somebody reported some power outage in Mumbai, etc. Then, but we did not really acknowledge it in so many words that it was attack. I believe from Bombay or Mumbai, sorry, the statement came from one of the ministers that it was a human error and not really any
Cyber attack.
attack, cyber attack. But in November 20, our CERT, that is our Computer Emergency Response Team, did give out warnings of a virus called ShadowPad. That there is some virus like that which is there. They didn't say where it came from, but they said be careful. This could do operation.
कुछ आएगा.
And the latest, yeah, and the latest May 21, this Colonial Pipeline, Microsoft Exchange, that they said Guam, there are signals coming, there is this coming, etc., etc. Right? We are all, this is very latest. And now slowly we are moving to the defense arena. Latest is the other 2 days before, I mean, President Biden's statement that US is hunting malicious computer code hidden deep inside the system.
This is, if I may, sir, sorry, if just give me a moment.
Yeah.
Is this the same thing that you're talking about, which actually affected Microsoft?
No,
Because
no, probably not.
they've not been able to clean that out for now 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is different. This has got a different dimension, I guess. It is
Okay.
probably not the same thing because it is just recent, as per my opinion. You may be right, but probably one needs to do more digging. But this is his concern now, and why I would say it is slightly latest because of its reference or iska jo connection hai. That makes me think that it is probably a recent phenomenon.
Hmm.
Recent in the sense from detection point of view or from concern point of view. कब से बैठा है, that of course nobody knows, right? Now he said that his malicious code is, and it will affect power, your communication system, water supply, so and so, for the US soldiers or US defense forces, not only in US, wherever they are. Okay, now what will China achieve by affecting, let's say, water supply or communication or this with the US forces, etc.? The larger aim is to delay US intervention should it do something in Taiwan. Because what happens is you are sitting ready. Like, USA is ready and you have war gamed it and you have done this. The moment China does something in Taiwan, so and so will give orders, so and so will decide, so and so do this, so and so do this. And now what happens is when you want to do that, when something happens, firstly, you may not even know because of this attack, suddenly pops up. It's like a sleeper cell. जैसे टेररिज्म में हम बात करते हैं, स्लीपर सेल्स कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, कुछ इनको, दैट इज व्हाई सिंस दे आर नॉट शोइंग अप, आप उनको कुछ कर नहीं सकते, राइट? So they are just residing in the system to become live whenever ordered to do so. And they will quickly affect those systems, creating a little bit of delay in your decision making. Now, this is the new game which is coming up, that how do you delay the decision making? Mind games, but comes to be known as cognitive domain operations.
Mhm.
Okay, which is very, very important. Now hardware, like we said, you can affect hardware, it will have effect for some time, it will get detected, you will do something to rectify it. But when you start affecting cognitive domain of people, it takes time, but it is very, very difficult to come out of it. Okay, now how does that take place? What is cognitive domain? A cognitive domain operations, they say they use emerging technology, particularly artificial intelligence, to advance battles into the realms of human mind. And that brings me to NSA's or Mr. Doval's statement on BRICS at the BRICS Avenue or Friends of BRICS Avenue. July 24th, Economic Times has it, and I quote, that gravity of cyber risks will increase with disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence. Now, he's NSA making this statement must have some deep meaning. Now, what is cognitive domain? Briefly, we will come to that. Now, there are 5 cognitive skills. They say in this realm, basically, reading, remembering, learning, logical reasoning, and paying attention. Now, if you notice this, I will repeat it: reading, remembering, learning, logical reasoning, and paying attention. All these things are which aid in decision making. You read something, you remember something, okay, you learn something out of that, you have logical reasoning in mind, and you pay attention to something and you reach at a point. And now you decide, if somehow I can affect your decision for you to take wrong decision, or I delay your decision making, I have achieved quite a bit. Now we talked about hypersonic missiles. अब अपने
Correct.
hypersonic missile बना ली जो 5 मार्क से ज्यादा जाती है, ओके, 6,000 किलोमीटर की स्पीड से 7,000 किलोमीटर की स्पीड से जाती है, बेसिकली कि टारगेट को जल्दी एड्रेस किया जा सके। पर आपने वो डिसीजन लॉन्च करने का डिले कर दिया 2 घंटे, तो देन दैट वेपन हैज लॉस्ट इट्स मीनिंग, यू सी. So you don't need to counter that quick weapon with quick weapon. You counter it with this decision making, that OODA loop, what we call
Hmm.
observe, orient, decide, and act. Okay,
Act.
और ये कैसे काम करती है? Now it is serious. Why I'm saying this, that more than that hardware operations, where you are affecting computers, you are doing this, you are doing that. First of all, it is difficult also to do that because, of course, there are great firewalls. People who design are not leaving it open for people to attack them. I mean, it will need a lot of work on that. And
Correct.
then it can be detected fast, right? But isme kya hai? These things work on emotions, on human emotions and have got no, what should I say, intervention or interference into the normal system. अब एक example से बात करेंगे हम अपनी, greed, UPI fraud, ओके, डेली होते हैं अब, डेली सुनते हुए अमिताभ बच्चन भी सबको एजुकेट करता है कि भाई सतर्क रहिए, सावधान रहिए, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा। यूपीआई फ्रॉड किस पे काम करता है? जो यूपीआई का फ्रॉड करता है, डज ही हैक इनटू योर बैंक अकाउंट?
No.
Does he do anything? Does he does anything your password? What does he
Cognitive.
thrive on? Cognitive. What cognitive? Greed. There is greed in everyone. Everyone has all the emotions. The psychologist, I believe Sigmund Freud said, all of us are mad, only the degree varies. So that mad word can be replaced by any emotion, right? He probably said it in a context, maybe the way he was talking, but I think that word, you can replace anything. Everyone has all the emotions. Some people are able to control, some people are not. Okay, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। इसमें क्या करता है यूपीआई फ्रॉड में? ही वर्क्स ऑन योर ग्रीड। आपको बोलता है आप 50,000 रुपए दिन के कमा सकते हो, आपको ये फ्री मिल गया, आपकी ये लॉटरी निकल आई, आपका ये, मेरे को 50 मेल आती है दिन की कि आपका ये डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में आपका ये इतना लोन, ये क्लेम पास हो गया है, ये कीजिए वो कीजिए। नाउ योर ग्रीड वर्क्स ऑन दैट, तो ही यूजेस योर ग्रीड टू फ्रॉड यू, right? This is one cognitive domain. Second is lust, honey trap, what we call it. What happens in honey trap? Okay, he is working on lust of people. That is an emotion. They don't breach into your any kind of hard drives or things like that. You are volunteering information, and that brings me to another aspect. What we say, they say cyber does not kill anybody. Okay, they generally say that you are not physically killing people, but I have a different take on that. Now just case, take this, since we are talking of honey trap, the live case of Mr. Purulkar, Pradeep Purulkar, DRDO scientist.
Correct, sir.
Okay, that Zara Das Gupta is the female who lured him. Okay, case is sub judice. I'm not commenting on the merits of it. I am only focusing on this cognitive domain, that it is a fact that he got trapped. Okay, what he passed, what he did not pass is a separate issue. How much he would have absorbed out of a WhatsApp conversation, that Agni technology, etc., or BrahMos technology. But my point is, fact is, he knew all that. He had the information on Agni, he had the information on BrahMos. He could have been of use to India. So what have you done by doing this? You have de facto killed him, if not physically, metaphorically. I mean, he is out of the system now, you see. Someone who could
These
have
are
contributed to the progress
most
of the
important.
nation,
Correct.
okay, is not there now. So someone by doing this has taken him out. Okay, today again there is a, two sailors are caught in USA, that passing information to China. Those two sailors were entrusted with some information. They must have been of use to the system, but now by trapping this, what have you doing? What have you done? You are de facto, killing people or eliminating them in a different way. You get the point, okay? Now what happens is, slowly when we are basing our capability on so much on cyber, slowly your identity is becoming digital. Okay, that today you know me as GS Bedi. Okay, I go somewhere, I go to a headquarter. Okay, let's say there is some problem with my retina, there is some problem with my thumb. That guy recognizes. I mean, when I was in service, he recognized Air Marshal Bedi hai, so he will do something, let me in, etc. A time will come slowly where people will not recognize you. It will all be digital. Even if he wants to let you in, you can't. Right? I mean, you cannot do that. You will become digital. Now tomorrow there is an op center, somebody is required to go in time, shift change, etc., and you tamper with this cyber system now, which stops recognizing people's digital entities. How many people you have taken out of the system in one go, if not
Wow.
completely delayed? Okay, उतना time. So what happens is, I am planning something, defense में कुछ attack, कुछ some operation plan कर रहे हैं, and I don't want other side to interfere in time, so you just have to delay that slightly. So why I'm saying all that, that all these things have to be taken care of when you are planning your operations. And this cognitive domain is very important, because it is different from fake information. Fake information is in general. It
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
just
Hmm. Hmm.
floated, for people. But cognitive domain, you will be targeting people. There is you profile people. Why do data stealing take place? So many bank profiles, people say my mera data privacy ye wo, etc. When my data is stolen, they know precisely what I like, what am I affected by my social media profiling, by my talk, by my way of thinking, etc. That kya affect karega isko. So there is a group of people, let's say, planned for
Hmm.
something. They profiled everybody. My daughter is somewhere, and I just message pops up in my WhatsApp that in that area there is some problem happening where girls are being targeted. This. It will affect you. Your
Instantly.
capability instantly. So if you were going on an important mission or something, your capability may be reduced. Your capability is not, but because constantly you're thinking that I need to quickly get back and check on that. So fake information, when we say we can stop, etc., so we need to devise tools when it comes to that. It's not only stopping fake information that someone tells me, can ye fake hai. So how do you like, I also, you get so many videos, so you google it or you do something and you realize कि नहीं यार ये fake hai. Okay, so you will need AI tools now, specially empowered to safeguard your targeted population, which is very, very vital to you. Okay, moment his phone or somebody gets something like that, okay, it is verified by automatic tools. I mean, that's what AI is for, right? Okay, it should automatically run the program. I mean, I'm just thinking aloud. Okay, and filter the information which is targeting this guys, I mean, which is out of the blue, like, which is out of sync, which is not that I was getting those messages and it is in continuation, right? It is suddenly popped up out of nowhere. Okay, so these things will have to be taken, and more so when our new generation, which is joining forces now, are more of digital savvy. Now we have youngsters coming, Agniveers, we have young people. They are already uh, what I call affected by social media skills or things like that. Can get affected very fast, but at the same time they are an asset because they will learn very fast. Once you tell them that okay, this is what it is, I mean, they are not लकीर के फकीर टाइप के ऐसा है, उनको एजुकेट करोगे तो जल्दी हो जाएंगे एजुकेट, राइट? Now China, when we say, they have a strategic support force, when we come to this military domains, which reports directly to a central military commission. Okay, they do all this tamasha. What do we have in India? Every service has got its little bit of cyber cell. Okay, we also have there are some 10 agencies you are looking at these cybers, different domains. No, there is IB, there is RAW, there is NTRO. NTRO looks at your like banking, your IT, your power, etc. Then DRDO is looking at defense, right? Then we army, just one branch has been cleared now, information warfare branch separately, to see ke bhai, information warfare should not affect our operation. And more important, just about 3-4 years back, defense cyber agency has come into
Yeah. Yeah.
place. Okay, so their main job, and we have CERT, of course, which has been doing a good job, computer emergency response team, that you give them any problem in computers or any kind of suspected activity, you report to them, और वो खुद करते रहते हैं. They keep testing various systems by themselves, injecting this kind of
Yeah.
virus and seeing how potent the systems are. But the point is that we have to see, I mean, what needs to be done. It's the extensive wargaming, etc. China threat is serious. There is no doubt about it. They have the capability, we have seen. And they say now, we will have to look for telltale signs. Now, future war, in my opinion, will start with cyber domain. You will have telltale signs. You can choose to ignore them. कि नहीं मेरे साथ, this feeling of invincibility कि मेरे साथ कुछ गलत नहीं हो सकता, not that. Instead of that, rather than ignoring these signs, you have to continuously look at it. War, for all you know, may have already started. Who knows? Okay, so if you don't pay attention to these telltale signs, which may start showing here and there, etc., it may be too late to get hold of that. Okay, now, like Sun Tzu said, winning without fighting. their guru, he said, you don't need to fight. And what he said, that killing should only be a matter of necessity to survive and not a goal of the
Yeah.
mission. Okay, so if they don't want to do any physical kind of thing or kinetic to large extent and want to resort to that, then they have the capability, and we have to develop. I would only restrict my dialogue to say that we need to develop enough defensive capability, which is surely in our hands. That means think about the scenarios. You do exercises, you do limited exercise. आपको 3 दिन का एक्सरसाइज का प्रोग्राम है, 3 दिन में ही हार जीत निश्चय हो जाती है. Which blue land wins or red land wins, etc. You run exercises as per an objective set. Okay, I think we need to run. You see, Russia Ukraine war, who would have exercised it for so long that it can happen? And narrative everywhere says the future wars will be short and swift, which may not be so. Okay, so resilience to carry on for a long time, to develop cyber capability that you can affect cyber operations. And how means you need cyber capability, you need to put it in intense bursts, short bursts. It is not that tomorrow if I decide cyber war, I just deactivate और उनके सारे ही कंप्यूटर को मैं बिल्कुल खराब कर दिया बहुत देर के लिए. ऐसा नहीं है. You have to aim it activity wise, or what I would say event wise, that okay, what is required, what is being targeted as, and coincide with your other operations so that they show greater effect. And guard your sources, be paranoid about it. Our cyber discipline, like, discipline is an overall state of mind. Okay, it comes from, I do not expect, I mean, pardon my saying it, that the guy who does not stop at red light on a traffic, or the guy who does not stop going opposite the traffic sense, suddenly will become very disciplined when it comes to cyber domain. It's a trait, which has to be taught from the very beginning. Putting your seat belt, I mean, if I'm not bothered about that, suddenly I will become very responsible when it comes to cyber domain. It is a
I mean,
state of mind.
sorry to interject. I say this whole helmet law is so stupid. Why? Because you're trying to protect a brain that it doesn't want to protect itself.
That's absolutely. Yeah, strange. Whenever I see that guy with a dangling strap or something like that, see the psychology of a guy. Now, I'm sure that people who are dealing with cyber, I'm not undermining. I mean, it could be colloquially speaking, they are far more serious. But you have to look at the weakest link. I mean,
Of course.
every damn computer, every damn place cannot be manned by high-end, top of the line responsible guys. General public, I mean, being responsible or being paranoid about cyber security should be a default setting. Okay, it does not come, our whole of government approach or whole of thing. We talked of greed, हमने लालच की बात की, when I talked of UPI fraud. Okay, just a small intervention. अब लालच किसका है? Not only लालच मेरा जो fraud में फंसता है, बैंक का लालच. Now, for the life of me, I don't understand that जब UPI fraud होता है, 2 बैंक involved होते हैं. एक मेरे बैंक से पैसा जाता है, उसके बैंक अकाउंट में जाता है, mind you. It doesn't go to his pocket. I'm not paying cash. It goes into his bank account, and yet you're not able to trace that guy. Because in the greed to open multiple accounts, etc., people probably don't do proper KYC. I mean, it's amazing that money has come to your bank account on a particular name, and after he has withdrawn it, you are unable to trace that guy. So it's a greed, solid greed from both sides. So if this is the discipline of the banks, let's say today, then how, I mean, suddenly you will become, cyber savvy. So firstly, government will have to force it down. I mean, either through education or some punitive measures or etc etc. Because in my opinion, it is very important कि लोगों को educate किया जाए, because they assets है. तो ऐसे target करके, now you can't ignore it. If suppose somebody, howsoever valuable he may be, if it's caught doing wrong things, the law of the land has to take its course. But it is unfortunate, no, that you have lost a important asset. Okay, so this was my brief beginning. Not really brief, I think took a lot of time to
नहीं sir,
explain it, but I thought that topic was
trust me,
important.
trust me, the stories were awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, all yours, Adi. Now, thank you very
Especially
much.
the Vietnam story was awesome. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really amazing that retribution. As a matter of fact, there was another one that happened, na, that Indian hackers actually hacked up the Pakistani army website and they put अपना Indian national anthem लगा दिया था वहां पर.
Okay.
So
You see, there are certain things which are of this kind. Small signaling or whatever it is. Probably चलते रहते हैं. The serious effort. I mean, it is a difficult domain, more difficult to practice, and even more difficult to guard, I would say.
without giving out any details, the question will be very simple. I mean, what kind of offensive would be considered as just below the red line? Because there is no red line, first and foremost. ऐसा तो है नहीं. So how do you kind of, this is an open ended game, sir. How do you give the, बोलते ना, सेम टेस्ट कैसे दो किसी को?
Yeah, see, what happens is it essentially, in open domain, I think whenever it happens, it will be kind of quid pro quo. Just draw an analogy from your surgical strikes or something like that. Okay, now till they happened, if one were to say कि क्या करोगे, तो क्या बोलेगा बंदा कि क्या करोगे. बट नाउ ऐसा है कि अगर कुछ इंडिकेशन आती है, अगर कुछ लगता है कि कुछ गड़बड़ हो रही है, तो प्लान रेडी होना चाहिए कि अगर इस डोमेन में अगर हमारे पावर सेक्टर को कल कुछ गड़बड़ होती है, तो you have some plan ready that which probably affects somebody more seriously, and then he thinks twice कि यार ये ऐसे ही करने का कोई फायदा नहीं है,
Because
from
see,
that point of
the point, why am I bringing this up at the end of it? And one thing is for sure that we will never come to know that we have attacked someone. ठीक है,
view. Of course.
ऐसा तो होगा नहीं कि आपको भैया
नहीं,
वो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया के अंदर ना एक एडवर्ट वो आएगा, न्यूज आर्टिकल आएगा कि भाई इंडिया अटैक चाइना इन साइबर डोमेन. It will not be that. So, but the point is, I mean, for the benefit of the general public, sir,
या नहीं,
there
अभी
has,
ये जैसे है कि आईपी एड्रेस ट्रेस हो जाते हैं. लेट्स से देयर हैव बीन केसेस, ऑल दीस थिंग्स वेयर पीपल एट्रीब्यूटेड टू सर्टेन प्लेस. आई मीन, all that we said China did, who did? China doesn't say I did it. I mean, he's not claiming that I did it. But what happens is that IP addresses, etc., are
I
traced back
mean,
to a particular
that
location.
that that even the Chinese told us during
Yeah,
the protest, the white paper protests. They said Indians are doing a lot of tamasha and
doing.
they've infiltrated our
Yeah,
systems and this and that. So they
yeah,
said that. I
yeah,
mean, see, sir, as a common public, and the point is, the issue is that till now, at least, now if we have a capability and this and that, I won't be very surprised, honestly. But I mean, till now, that was not the case. We were not giving it back in the same taste. So there is obviously a certain, for the lack of a better word, and let me say that very clearly, I'm not using that because I feel so, but for the lack of a better word, underconfidence within the people to believe the factor कि हम भी किसी की ठुकाई कर रहे हैं इस डोमेन के अंदर. So that
yeah.
is
You
one
see,
thing
what
which,
happens
which
is,
I guess. हाँ,
जैसे न्यूक्लियर में बोलते हैं ना, आदि सेकंड स्ट्राइक कैपेबिलिटी.
जी.
Okay, if you have a second strike capability, then you are not afraid of using nuclear weapon. It is said, कि एक बार मैंने कर दिया, और और absorb कर लिया, and I can strike again. Not कर दिया. Second strike capability is essentially कि I have been attacked and I still have the capability to attack back. Okay,
Attack back. हाँ.
so that is second strike capability, right? So in this particular game also, cyber, I think why people were underconfident or will, that unless you have that kind of capability, you don't want to start something with the fear of retribution. If one is, you may be lacking the will. Okay, and even if you're not lacking the will, you may be lacking capability. So it's a combination of will and capability, that will probably guide as to what you can do. सो एक है कि इग्नोर कर दो, छोटा मोटा इंसिडेंट हो गया, जैसे पहले छोटा सा इंकर्शन हो गया या छोटा ये हो गया, छोटा, यू जस्ट इग्नोर इट, build up, or now you have zero error policy, like, or zero fingering policy, I would say, कि भाई anything happens in this particular domain, the retribution will come in some other form which may affect you more. Now you see, anybody who depends on cyber more will be affected more, so to say, right? So if China is, so to say, four times, five times of economy, I guess a cyber intervention should affect it four or five times more than us. So
So
it's a
look at the coincidence, sir. And may I just take a moment to read
yes,
this news
please.
update I just got on Twitter. So अभी
Mm-hmm.
एकदम से वो टिंग टिंग करना शुरू हो गया, and there's a
Yeah.
particular channel that I follow.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitals and medical services in Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Texas, Rhode Island, and California have been forced to close emergency rooms and ambulances. A major cyber attack has hit these hospitals, impacting the patients and their healthcare providers. Just to continue, 5 days ago, a Chinese malware by the name of Ticking Time Bomb
Ticking time bomb. Yes.
was actually able to decapitate some of the US intelligence services. So
Now
the
this is
hospital
exactly
attack
we talked
now,
about that.
it just
Yeah,
happened.
that Biden, in Biden's statement, he also used this word. He said there is ticking time bomb. Now I don't know whether virus's name is ticking time bomb or it's a phrase that was used. It is a ticking time bomb. Okay.
So
Now
I
it
think
comes out
the way
probably
this
it's
the way this update is written,
the virus is
yeah,
called ticking time bomb.
it's in the
Inverted
quotes.
commas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, because when I read the news, I said Biden said it's a ticking time bomb. So I thought probably like we use a phrase that ticking time bomb, but probably it may be named so because it was like I said, sleeper cell. It is lying dormant, and at the time it will come up. Now again, I don't know what purpose it would serve by affecting these things that probably it couldn't lie dormant the way they wanted it to lie dormant, or like we say, it is possible that since US knows now that something like that is there, they start probing about it to make it appear somewhere, so that they know what it is, etc. And some efforts have popped it up somewhere. Who knows, you know what is it, because
I
otherwise
mean,
what purpose would it serve?
I am trying to read anything more. It doesn't say anything. It just came up on my
Yeah,
phone. I said, यार ये बड़ा
yeah,
interesting है. अभी
yeah,
हम
yeah.
cyber attack की
Very
बात कर रहे हैं, and
timely.
suddenly there is a bloody update that comes. I follow
Yeah,
certain channels who give out these obscure news.
it's good
So
news. Yeah,
when suddenly this phone lit up, I read the word cyber. I said, यार ये क्या है? And there
yeah,
you go.
yeah,
I mean, the funny thing is, which I kind of want to kind of close our interaction and take it to the audience after that, is the factor that this is a vulnerability that is there everywhere, sir.
yeah,
And you just mentioned that the Chinese depend on networking and all that stuff more than us. Now I just want to ask you, sir, when you read Xi Jinping's lengthy speeches to his military, he went last week also, and their latest doctrine is all about fighting informationized warfare.
information. Yeah,
Okay. Now informationized warfare is basically network centric, right? So
true.
you take out the network, the entire war effort is gone.
Absolutely.
So isn't that a
So
big
that is why
vulnerability?
the backups, it is, but that is where you need to have backups. Okay. You need to have meaningful backups, not backup for the sake of it. Okay. One is to tick the box. Okay. And how, for example, if I have to give you an example, what is a meaningful backup? Okay. Let's say there is a wire running. Okay. And you say, okay, this wire could be damaged by some this thing. I need a backup wire, एंड यू ले दिस बैकअप वायर जस्ट नेक्स्ट टू इट के एक ही गड्ढा खोदना पड़े उसी में दोनों डाल दो. सो नाउ यू यू हैव टिक्ड द बॉक्स दैट आई हैव ए बैकअप वायर, बट इज इट ए मीनिंगफुल बैकअप? बिकॉज अगर अटैक में एक डैमेज होगी तो मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली दोनों डैमेज होंगी. Meaningful backup would be if my one wire goes here, the other one is remotely located elsewhere, which that if this gets damaged, the backup is there, just as an example. So now you need these kinds of backups of networks, not that something just replicated for convenience कि एक गया तो साथ में दूसरा भी गया. Okay, that is not what is which needs investment of minds, investment of money, of course, and time. So all this will need to be done. That if you want to fight tomorrow's war on completely net centric, it will have to be everything rides on cyber. Yeah, I mean, your satellite communication, you name a thing. People use cyber now copiously. Okay, I mean, if satellite may be giving you communication directly, what is processing it? We are talking of artificial intelligence into my war fighting, etc., etc. Who's going to process it? Everything runs on this cyber. So cyber, I think, is going to become very, very important in the times to come. It is important already, but probably people will realize it's important in the times to come.
Mind boggling. I mean, see, this is, you can understand artillery, ये वो फिर भी थोड़ा बहुत समझ में आ जाता है, not that we're a, this thing in that, but this is a domain which really really boggles me. I mean, it's quite a,
Eh,
people don't pay
yeah,
attention, really speaking, people just don't pay attention to it, sir.
something like that. What I'm saying is, you need, you plan some mission, you plan some this thing, some attack, some malware just has to alter a few digits here and there. I mean, your complete thing is gone without you knowing it. You'll go and probably drop something somewhere else or get vulnerable. So there has to be backup, or there has to be correlated system, okay, which will tell you that there is something wrong with this particular thing. Like banking also. He tells you write the account number. One, he puts star star star, and then he puts this thing. So it's a correlating. That by mistake you have not given a wrong digit, right? You can't copy paste. You'll have to type it, right? So these kind of backups are required in real time uh, in your war fighting. Now that is a commercial thing; they are earning money out of it. So understandable. Okay, Adi, even if you don't do, we were talking of delaying decision. Let's say you don't do anything. You just give me an indication that you have done something. Can I take a chance?
Nope.
Okay, so you planned a huge number of aircraft missions, and nothing has happened. You've done not been able to do anything, but you just gave some kind of indication that something has happened, कि कुछ शायद हो गया है. Okay, your whole, you'll have to replan it, because you can't risk that complete wave or complete attack plan or complete for someone who's waiting for you in front. So you'll have to redo the whole thing. So what have you done? You've delayed. Nowadays, I mean, time is of essence.
Everything's
It's almost in war, time will be like your share market. A guy who gets 1 second lead over others will stands to make billions. I mean, that's the whole inside information. What you call inside trading is all about this. That just a
correct.
few seconds. What's 2 3 seconds ahead of another guy, and you're made or broken. So if the war is something like that, it's going to be like that.
Amazing. I mean, because it's ah that's what I'm saying, sir. It's such an unbelievable thing. It's not something that one can really, realize कि यार ऐसा भी हो सकता है. It's and people, as I was saying, uh, people just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah,
You know,
I suppose at large,
nobody pays attention. I mean, as the audience, I'd like to ask you guys, when was the last time you were worried about somebody hacking your stuff open? I mean, nobody does. Today, Google is asking me, now YouTube has so many connections here and there, sir. YouTube now tells me a two-factor authentication. Okay, on top of
yeah,
which I have a Mac. So that two-factor authentication needs to be touched with my fingerprint, then only it'll open
fingerprint.
YouTube on my computer.
Yeah,
Right? So it just does not open otherwise. जो मर्जी कर लो
yeah.
वो नहीं खुलेगा. So if I am traveling right now, I have to carry this if I have to do any work,
Hmm.
because I cannot open it anywhere else, because it's going to be,
Anywhere else? Yeah,
this thing. Now, we find it so tedious just to press a few buttons, and I find it tedious. यार ये क्या है यार, हर बारी मेरे को ये दो बारी. What is this nonsense? So when I open YouTube, so it gives me a prompt on my phone. I have to open that prompt. There is a code. Connect to
yeah,
that code to this code. Then that's the one factor. Then second factor, this thing.
yeah, yeah.
तो पहले पासवर्ड, फिर कोड, फिर फिंगरप्रिंट. So तीन
Okay.
literally आप चीजें कर रहे हो just to open your YouTube account, which I
No,
literally am on it
yeah.
every day.
Convenience, what happens is people take convenient path and not right path. Okay. Somebody had told me about banking site, a phishing site. When one youngster of mine, I mean, when we used to, the phishing site का तब चला था कि नकली आईसीआईसी बैंक की साइट आ गई आपके सामने, है ना?
Mm,
So you
mhm.
just started doing something on that, and it took your password, it took your everything. तो he told me a simple thing. He said, sir, जब भी आप खोलो बैंकिंग की साइट को, फर्स्ट टाइम पुट ए रॉन्ग पासवर्ड intentionally.
Sir, I
So
always,
if it's a phishing
you know what
site,
I do?
it will accept it.
You know what I
If
do,
it's a
sir?
genuine site,
I never use the password. So
yeah.
I'll just type some random letter as the password and just remember it for that particular time. Open it, close it, and then go to forget password again. So every time I open my banking site, I do forget password.
Yeah. So this is tedious, like you said, but it is
It's
foolproof.
safe.
But
Yeah, yeah.
even that, people find it tedious to do. The so we people tend to do things which are convenient and not right. And right is never convenient.
Convenient.
It is not in your comfort zone. Uh, Whatever is your comfort zone, there is a saying that if everything seems to be coming your way, then you are probably in the wrong lane, right?
Yeah,
So one just has to
is
remember
this
that.
one of those sayings of the Indian Armed Forces that is put in the roads, the army roads or something? So don't
No,
be a
no, I mean it's a famous thing. Yeah.
don't be a Gama in the land
Eh,
of the Lama
yeah,
types.
yeah, yeah.
Let's get into some questions, sir. Uh,
Okay. Oh,
Thank you. Firstly, thank you so much. I mean, this has been a trust me,
okay.
for me personally, it's been an eye opener, and I'm going to promise myself I will stop cribbing about the 2 3 factor that needs to be, you know,
Yeah,
done to open my YouTube page. And I think
yeah,
next time, at least my personal learning is going to be it's better to be safe than sorry. So that's something
absolutely.
I'm going to say, guys. I hope you all also take this lesson. Those of you who are watching and those of you who will watch later, please, please, please. This is a very, very important thing because I mean, the Vietnam story resonates with me. If you can literally turn off TVs and play something here and there, and it's quite a nasty thing. And it may not be even government sponsored. There are enough of these hackers sitting and doing nothing, and they just keep
Yeah,
doing ulte kam and stuff like that. So please, I think take this very very seriously. And guys, before I continue, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, I'd like to also say that we have completed 100 100 members on this channel, so I'm really proud to have all of you as a member of this particular channel. uh, please do continue supporting dev talk so that we can do more and more these these shows. Sir, पहला देखते हैं. Okay, it's uh, yeah. Jagpreet
yeah.
Batra ji says, Air Marshal sir, what is the policy of electronic equipment that are built in India, as many parts of them are Chinese OEMs? Some of them are directly manufactured by Chinese firms. How can we be so sure?
Yes, thank you for the question. And like we said earlier, when we were not so conscious about it, or when we were youngsters, actually everything, appeared to come in because China was a cheap manufacturing hub. The all the parts or sub parts, even if some main equipment was made in USA or Germany or somewhere, you found that subsystems, etc., most of their parts, even iPhone, batteries came from China, right? So those they were made in China. Okay. Now, I suppose that these people have a quality control. The owners will lie on the person who's supplying you the equipment. But the fact is that if it is made in China, you're right, you cannot be sure, but you can certainly verify it now if you are conscious of this fact. That anything which comes will not have an equipment from or support from there, or like supply chain management, has become very, very important. And you have to trace every part. If I buy an equipment in a ready-made condition, it is my responsibility now that each and every subcomponent of it is certified, that where did it come from, who made it, etc. That means the supply chain has to be verified. So I think this aspect is now at least being looked after to quite an extent.
Only a good hacker can be good averter. This is a fact. Absolutely. With the
No
hackathons
doubt.
which are happening in India right now, so I guess you're pointing towards the right direction.
Yeah, and in fact, if even in Russia-Ukraine war, some Westerners have made a comment that Russia did not really use its cyber criminals to good effect. They had so many of them, and at least in times of war or something, because if you can use those Wagners, or you can use those kind of people to fight for you. I mean, definitely in the times of war, everything is fair in love and war. If you had some people who are good in this cyber sort of scenario, they could have, they definitely will do that for sure.
So MK Sundaram Sava asks, is there any answer to Chinese cyber attacks?
Awareness. What happens is there is no cut and dry answer, black and white answer to this, because you really don't know what kind of attack, cyber attack is going to be. It is not defined. If, let's say, if you ask me a particular question that, okay, how can this kind of attack be averted, then it probably can be answered. Now, China's cyber attack can be in many forms. In what form it takes place, every domain, and there are specialists in that. All I can say in my capacity is that we need to be aware, like the very fact he's asking a question, these people need to, in their own domain. You see, what happens is, you are running a particular equipment, you are responsible for that. You will have to continuously think with your specialists that what can make it go wrong. Continuously keep doing that, be ahead of the curve, that what can take place, what can happen. If this happens, then I'll do this, and this happens, I'll do this. It has to become like your normal, like we were talking of cognitive, it has to become your cognitive skills, the way I fly an aeroplane. I mean, nobody's hacking into it, but nature is hacking into it. Machine is hacking into it. Things can go wrong. So whenever, systems that I am operating, we are continuously thinking ahead of the curve, that if now this happens, then what am I going to do? If this happens, what am I going to do? This happens, what am I going to do? Because any of these things can happen.
Ethical
Here,
hacking.
the same thing, ethical hacking or something, or whatever it is, that if something happens, how are we going to do it? To be aware of it and to prepare for its defense, I would say.
That is very critical, sir. One must be able to check its own vulnerabilities and kind of self correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bhattaji asked a very interesting question again. So he says, sir, cognitive domain operations also give false sense of security in enemy decision making mechanism and then attack when it's not accepting, like masking a sensor so that it does not detect.
Yeah, so let me just read it again. Cognitive domain operations also give false sense of security in enemy decision making, in the sense that you are, enemy is feeling more secure, that it has got a better capability. Adi, what do you understand by this question? I mean, if you can
So,
paraphrase it,
one of the
because
things that it gives a false sense of security in enemy decision making mechanism. Uh, if you are
but then
in
when
if you're able to actually influence the enemy to a point of time where they actually feel that nothing will happen, and suddenly when it happens is going to be deadly. And I think I'll take an example here. If you remember the beginning of the Russia Ukraine war, the Americans kept telling everybody, oh, they're going to come, they're going to come and come to Kiev in 3 days and this and that. But people in Kiev were like, no, there will never be a war, it will not happen,
hmm,
ye hoga hi nahi. And
yes,
when it
okay,
happened, it was such a
yeah,
shocker to them
uh,
that
I
it
I
really.
I get the sense now. What probably is meaning is that, means one is cognitive, attacking cognitive offensively. One is that you address the enemy's cognitive skills in a manner that you tell him that, okay, nothing, don't worry, nothing will happen. Give him a false sense of security, and then when he's least expecting it, you do the operations anyway. It will work. It's absolutely right. You're basically controlling one's mind. That how the mind is going to work, what kind of. So if I'm very comfortable, if I believe, you profile me, you profile certain set of people, and you say that they always believe the things which are convenient or which are comfortable. They don't go and recheck, or they don't cross check. Somebody tells them good things. So if someone tells me two things, one is good, one is bad, I am used to believing the good thing. It will happen. That okay, this can happen or that can happen. Under the garb of optimism, I will always think that good thing will happen. Always think good, always think good, so good things will happen. So if I have that kind of mindset, and you want to now attack my cognitive skill, then this is absolutely the right thing. You make me feel assured that nothing is going to go wrong, and then attack or strike when one is least expecting, means you are making me believe that really no preparation is required, no work is required. I mean, I'm not worried that something is something bad is going to happen from that point of view. Yes, it's a very much plausible
He
idea.
says it's just the same like Hindi chini bhai bhai. Well,
Yeah, yeah. Something like that. Yes, of course.
I mean that's quite a apt
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
JJ says also we should ponder intelligent automated offensive bots which would act to events in real time, which can be backed by quantum machines and AI.
Oh, yes, of course, no doubt about it. That's what we said. You remember when I said that you need to provide some app or some mechanism, or to me, that which automatically does a bit of work for me. Okay, yeah, this is not right. What you are probably you know uh, getting is, or what you're thinking is right, or what information has come to you is not right. You need that kind of for example, in this particular thing, bot, let's say my timekeeping. Okay, we are supposed to go somewhere, I'm supposed to be doing something, and someone affects my clock, simple thing, which makes it time go wonky. Okay, now I start doing things at the wrong time. Okay, because I believe this watch, and this watch is telling me wrong time. Okay, or everybody sees time on the mobile phone now, hardly people wear watch, right?
Yeah.
So now you see that starts getting affected. So the precisely this AI or what kind of thing needs to reside in my phone, that if something makes it tell the time, it is also linked to probably GPS or some other timekeeping machine, and there is a conflict, and it warns you that there is something wrong. Be careful. So you have a second something else to cross check with, that okay, there is something wrong here. Okay, I plan something. I write a equation, 2 plus 2 into this. You need a bot or AI kind of thing which is duplicating it somewhere, along with that, I mean, creating a shadow kind of thing. I'm not a cyber expert, but I'm an application man. I'm just thinking that how this can be done. Okay, that something is creating a shadow kind of thing, a parallel, and now someone affects the main, that tomorrow I made a program, I did everything, I kept it. Okay, tomorrow when I come and open it, it has been fingered with. So I should get a warning. You do get. I mean, somebody says that okay, if your computer has been hacked. Now, problem here is that you are not being told that your computer has been hacked. It is just that particular program, or it is just particular equation, or it is just particular line which has been fingered with. So overall computer has got no problem. Okay, but now that needs to be told to me. Okay, it may not tell me that what has gone wrong exactly, or what is there, but just a warning that recheck this. There is a likely problem here. So you co-check, correlate, or do something with your backup. Some online systems duplicating in offline systems, etc., etc. And physical security of utmost importance. People like, moment you start depending on these machines more and more, you let go of physical security aspect of it. Okay, that is very very important, because ultimately uh, people, when they can't get through machines, will try to do it physically.
I mean, it's amazing, sir. This whole thing. I'm not a very technical person, so I know how to use technology.
No, yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
a very
yeah.
technical person, but it's one knows the depth of the you know the action that can happen. How do you defend
Yeah.
undersea cables attack which stretches for thousands of kilometers and is a part of cyber warfare? Just FYI,
Yeah.
I've also done a complete show on this.
Yeah,
with
with
Admiral
naval
Kanan. Yeah.
Admiral. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so.
So
Hmm.
you can have a look at that, sir. But your comments.
No, no, no. I mean, it's not particularly the thing. Undersea cables now, because they are cables finally, right? Okay, so they are undersea. I mean, that is a different dimension altogether. But as far as cyber is concerned, I don't think they will have a different architecture vis-a-vis the cables which are lying on ground. Will that be so? I mean, that something to detect, reaching them may be difficult. I mean, if that is a question, or after all, somewhere they will originate. There will be no originating point. They carry the system, and if he means the physical security, that how such a long thing anywhere you can intercept it and it is difficult to guard, then yes. See, it may not be. My only point is, possibly the naval guys will be able to throw better light on that, but my point is only this: if I have introduced mechanism which tells me that things have gone wrong, at least do not fool the system, and I have a sufficient backup, then probably it will serve a purpose to an extent. Creating a backup is important, and it's not very easy to do, cyber, to engineer these kind of attacks, which are going to affect, having a devastating effect, will be far and few in between. So you thought one, the next one will take time to happen. So if physical security is concerned, then yes, maybe it is difficult to secure these thousands of kilometers, but I suppose even they will be embedded. I mean, it is not that they are
Live and open.
floating live, or something like that, and core under core and things like that, and various what do you call, safeguards at different places, information correlation, etc. It will probably would be happening uh, under though, but more like you said, probably your that episode can throw a greater light.
What if China cyber attacks our power stations? Will India stop like banking, petrol pumps, and water supply? I mean,
India will, you see, if they affect them, they will obviously stop for a while. I mean, the power supply, like we say, if that was a attack, did get affected at any rate, and you just read that news, those things will start getting affected. But will we stop means, I think they'll stop automatically. You will have to safeguard, like you can't carry on operating something which is under attack. For some time, you'll have to preventively shut it down. It's like something getting. Uh, Sparking somewhere in your normal house. I mean, leave alone cyber. If there is some problem, you do shut down the complete system, right? That till you do it. So it will be something like that for some time. It will happen.
I want to take this up with you again, sir, with regards to
Hmm.
laptops and PCs and all that stuff. Now, this can be
Hmm.
also there's. I mean, since you mentioned, it, I was thinking of a third angle. One is, the embedding stuff which actually happens from China. There is that. Uh, is there also malware which is actually sent in through these laptops? Because that to me is a threat that we are not talking about. You're talking about components that could be leaking out
Components.
information.
See, malware, I won't be sure, because probably it can be detect initially when you induct it, or when it's brought online or something like that. Personal computer, I don't know, but any military hardware which is used, etc., will go through thorough check. For example, you have Air Force has got AFNet, Air Force Net. Okay, completely isolated system from surroundings. It's totally air capped. So today, the amount of things, no AFNet PC is talking to internet PC directly. Okay, no pen drives are allowed, no any kind of plug-in devices are allowed. And you do any kind of intrusion, the signal straight away goes to your hub center, which is in Bangalore or some other remote place, etc., that some intrusion has taken place. Some, initially some things used to take place when I was in the east. Some DSC Jawan is base ops पे है, नया नया फोन लगा उसको, अब फोन चार्जिंग केम विद द यूएसबी केबल्स. ओके, दैट गाय वुड नो प्रोबेबली एट टाइम्स कि ये प्रॉब्लम है. तो उसने देखा कि फोन चार्जिंग घर पे क्योंकि करता था, उसके का बेटा ना लैपटॉप से फोन लगाता, तो उसने बताया कि ऐसे भी फोन चार्ज हो जाता है. उसको दिया, and he came and plugged it in for charging phone. Okay, so thorough investigation was done, etc., proper due process followed, but it came out that actually what do you call, a lack of knowledge of such things. So what I was saying is that these safeguards are there. Okay, so military hardware or hardened system, personal computers, I think, are they even, they will have to do a bit of targeting, because like I said, they can't overload themselves. Now, can you see millions and millions of computers become that kind of thing and start feeding information? They will themselves go bonkers. Who's going to process all that? So it will be done in a targeted way, implying that if I put a component there, then probably I can activate them selectively, knowing that where are they. If they once tell me their position or location or what kind of job they are doing, or what, I mean, you put a something in my computer and it detects only Facebook chat, 16 hours in a day, then it says it's useless, not required. Okay, but suppose it's residing somewhere which is writing some confidential information, which is doing some other tamasha, and says, oh, this is important. So you say, okay, let's target this one. Okay, so that is why I said component. Standard general malware possible, but I don't know what is that. Some remark was there, I didn't read it completely, last one, that some postponed to November 1 or something. Your last question,
1 second, sir. I'll
it
just bring it
it
up.
flashed and went back.
Restrictions
Yeah,
of the
just him.
laptops and all that, sir, to
Yeah,
November
government
1st.
defers to restrictions. So, no, this may be economic consideration, I guess. The said restriction were to check Chinese imports, which had sparked.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my
probably.
apologies.
No, 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 which had spiked in recent reports. Yeah, that's what I exactly said. That probably now defer to November 1, because probably
No,
there
by
may
that
be some things
November is
already in shipment, etc., etc.
November यहाँ पर है. It's about also,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
resetting your supply chains, ये वो and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So it may be affecting some people economically hell of a lot. You see, after all, you have to look after your. I mean, both things have to balance out. So they will tell them to be careful, probably, or they will mark those things which come in this particular time.
And the last one, sir, we will take is, should we develop a deterrent hacking team to counter attacks?
Should we a deterrent hacking team? Why should we call it a hacking team? In my opinion, they are legitimate cyber operations. Like defensive
Should be
operation,
cyber
defense
defense.
forces, cyber defense. Like we have defense forces, but nothing stops you from attacking, right? So you develop a credible cyber defense. I mean, you can't really advertise, like I say, that you going to. It is not right. Also, I mean, let's say
नहीं, कल
publicly, that
कल सुबह
why
ऐड डालते हैं सर.
unnecessarily do that.
कल सुबह
Huh?
ऐड डालते हैं, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस looking for hackers to attack Pakistan and China. Anybody who's interested, please do contact the email address below. That'll be the fun.
These ads, you have to be. There used to be a funny. I mean, just because we are ending on a jovial note, they when they used to make those jokes, he says that somewhere poster was there, wanted for rape and murder, and somebody went and applied there. That I think I'm fit for the job. So it's just a joke. Okay, so
My God.
what?
No, but
So
that's
from
what I'm
that
saying.
perspective,
This is a, you'll still talk about military technology that you're, यार ये अभी ये कर रहे हैं, वो कर रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, ये टेस्टिंग हो रही है, ब्रह्मोस हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है. This stuff nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to talk
yeah,
about, because this is so sensitive right now. People have not been able to understand it. People have not been able to comprehend the impact of it.
yeah. Maybe in a routine, first of all, we tend to talk on impact of things, that how, what kind of impact it makes on people. No, it's like we said, UPI fraud is in a lot of news because it's impacting
Ah, yeah.
people. They've got the topmost actor of the industry canvassing about it, that be careful banking fraud, because it's affecting people. So moment this cyber, otherwise it's unglamorous, out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't, you don't uh, feel well equipped or good to talking about it. So you say, okay, let it be where it is. We'll see when it comes and affects me, then we'll talk about
Mhm. Sir, thank you so much for taking all the time. This is a tough subject to talk about, and you've hit it outside the stadium. Let me just say that, because it's,
it. No, no,
you
no.
know,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
you've broken it down so that even a regular person with not much technical knowledge, uh, just like me, I mean, I'm not a very
No,
technical
no, no.
person.
But
I know how to use
you,
stuff. I don't know how to. I mean, I can't
You know,
describe.
people are more tech savvy. I mean, I belong to a generation which did not grow up with computers and
Nee, that's there, sir. See,
mobile. Yeah.
tech.
So
I find tech in two things. One,
yeah,
they're users of tech who know how to use stuff. I'm damn good at that. But if you tell me how does this happen, then that goes over my head.
yeah,
I mean, and I've never
yeah.
bothered to kind of find out because I somewhere down the line doesn't interest me that much. Uh, it's a very interesting discussion because when you see these examples that you've told us, it actually makes it a little more, intriguing. And thank you so much for that, sir. It's always a pleasure, learning experience talking to
Uh,
you, and I'm looking
Thank you.
forward for many, many such interesting views and uh, learning experiences with you going forward in the future, sir. Till then,
Thank you so much. Thank you, Adi. Thank you. Bye.